How's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping back in. Today, we are going to try and get my RX-7's drivability kind of figured out. So, we rebuilt this motor. It's a 350 small block, and I've had issues with its drivability, its performance, its overheating. Any issue you could think of having with it, I've had by switching over to a bigger camshaft with a tight LSA, long duration, and just really crappy vacuum. So the PCV valve system is operated off of vacuum. I have issues with the PCV valve system. The distributor the vacuum advance, operated off of vacuum, doesn't even work anymore because that vacuum canister on the distributor won't even activate within the range that my engine pulls for vacuum. So we mechanically recurved the distributor to run a higher base timing because we had issues with idle and starting. So we had to turn the ignition timing up to like 16 degrees or whatever, and then had to recurve it back so that it would only go up to like 36 total advance. And yeah, it's good performance wise and it runs great full throttle, but drivability is just not there because the vacuum advance is not working. So I have a method in my head which I think will get us by for the time being. I need to do more research, and I'd like to find a vacuum canister that operates on really low engine vacuum. And then, so we'll get into that in a little bit, but I also have to take that carburetor back off and put in the bigger jets because it runs lean while cruising down the road on these smaller jets. So just the way everything has to work, I've got to go back to those big jets, and then hopefully cruising fuel will be good. Then we just only have to worry about the ignition side of things. So I'll pull the car forward, take the carburetor off. We're gonna put it on the bench, switch the jets back into it, put it back on the car, and then we can start working on figuring out the solution for the vacuum advance. So as you just saw, we got the carburetor out of the car. I'm gonna pull the front bowl off, and the main jets are right inside there on the metering block. We'll unscrew the jets out of the metering block, put the new ones in, tighten the bowl back on, and I guess we'll put it on the car and we won't really have to deal with that anymore. I wanna do a little bit of tuning on it and see how high we can get the vacuum, but there's only so much you can really do. So from there, what we'll do is move on to my method of fixing the vacuum advance, which is a fix, but hopefully it should make the car drivable and solve the overheating issue for the meantime until I can figure out the correct vacuum canister for that distributor. And just like that, the carburetor is all back on. It should be completely set up for the jets that are in it. When I switched out from the jets that are currently in it and put the 65s in it, I never adjusted anything on the carburetor. So it was tuned on the jets that are now currently back in it. So everything with it should be good. I'm going to take the vacuum line off from the vacuum advance canister and see if this distributor has an adjustable vacuum can. Normally, when you buy aftermarket HEI distributors, they have an adjustable vacuum can on them. So I'm gonna take the line off, I'll check it, and we'll see by using a brake bleeder, because that has a vacuum gauge on it, and we'll take the cap off the distributor. We'll see at what vacuum I can get the vacuum advance to start engaging at. If the vacuum can is adjustable, I'll adjust it all the way one way, see when it engages. I'll adjust it the other way, see when it engages. I believe that this engine runs on like 6 vacuum. So if I can get it to operate fully engaged by 6, all's great. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. Usually vacuum canisters like these will be full on by 7 to 10, but it's just one of those things where we've gotta check it. So yeah, I'm gonna dive into the distributor now, play with that a little bit, and I'll let you guys know what I come up with. All right, so I got a little update. I took the cap off like I said I was going to, and I have a vacuum brake bleeder set up with a hose here going to the vacuum advance canister. Now, from the second I start pulling on this, I can see it already begin to operate the vacuum advance, and it bottoms out and is doing maximum advance at 10. So being that this makes 6, the vacuum line on the carburetor at cruise, I would say could be 6, it could be 4. So it's definitely operating the vacuum advance canister to some extent. So if I'm cruising this thing down the road and we're at 3,000 RPM, which is typically cruising speed in this, or maybe a little more, the mechanical advance has already kicked in at that point. So we're at a total of 36. And then with the vacuum advance fully kicked in, it should be adding like an additional 15. So it should be like, if my math isn't wrong, around like 50 degrees of timing. And that would definitely help it stay within an efficiency range that it needs to stay at, you know, depending on throttle. So as you roll into the throttle, you take the vacuum advance away from it, just run it off the mechanical advance. But while cruising, you want a bunch of ignition timing. Yeah, my solution for this to get rid of my overheating issue was going to be either like a choke cable that you would typically find on like a lawnmower or something. I was going to have the choke cable mechanically operate the vacuum advance. So I can have a switch in the car and I just pull it if I'm just at a cruising speed or low throttle stuff. And then when I want to floor it, or if I'm racing or whatever I'm doing, I can make sure to shut the vacuum advance off. Okay, so got a little update for you guys. What I ended up doing was putting the vacuum gauge on the port on the carburetor and idled the car to see what the vacuum was. Now, it was a little higher than I remember it being, honestly. It was around like 7 if I was getting it to idle. But the issue was I couldn't leave the vacuum gauge just on there because what's keeping the car actually running right now is the vacuum advance working. So when you remove the vacuum advance, it's taking away an additional, 12 or 15 degrees of timing. bought extra vinyl this time because they keep it locked up in a glass case. So now that we got the vinyl, we're gonna go back to the house, cut it out, and we'll get that put on the car. There we are. So, as you can see, we just laid the decal in the car. I think it looks miles better than it would have if I painted it and used that stencil and stuff. Granted, it is the decal, but the black matches the back very well. So I'm more than happy with that. We're gonna cut this one a little short. I'm not sure exactly how long the video is once it's edited, but today is the day I'm going to the track. The last clips that you guys saw before me putting the decals on was yesterday. I printed those out yesterday. Didn't get much sleep the night before. Basically slept all of yesterday away. Today is the day we're going to the drag strip, and we are going to be driving the car there. And fingers crossed, nothing happens. I don't think that we'll have a ton of time to play with the car, but just because it's probably going to be pretty busy. But stay tuned for the next video. You guys will find that out. But I'm going to clean things up here. I'm going to rush and get that other decal done. Then I can just get in the car and get out of here. Stay tuned for next video. We're going to the drag strip. Hopefully we get a pass on it. If not, there's plenty of other cars that will be racing. I'd like to get footage of that stuff and just basically whatever I do today. So, all right, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned on YouTube Shorts every single day. They come out between 7 and 9 p.m. But other than that, we'll see you next time.